going to get started, Bryan, because I got a few questions to ask you. First, thank you for being on. We talk about you all the time in the office. You're kind of the standard we set in our office for what we want people to do. And you know, you've met a lot of our people down that have come down and visited with you. And they watch you and they think, oh, yeah, I can do that. And then they come back and try to do it. So it's kind of an interesting dilemma that they run into, trying to do what Bryan does. So hey, let me ask you a question then, Bryan. I've just written down a few questions if it's okay. Can you tell us a little bit about how long ago you got started and what got you started in the real estate business?
I got my license in 2000. It was either 1 or 2. And I was in St. George, just got off my mission. And I just wanted to get in sales. Basically, no one would hire me for a sales job anywhere. Like, they're like, you don't have any experience. I was like, oh, well, you know, real estate will let anybody get a license. So, and it seems like the commissions are nice. So I jumped into that. And it was kind of funny because I just started knocking doors like when I was a missionary, and immediately it was listing properties. And I made some money, and it's like, okay, I guess I'll go to college. So I went to BYU, and that's when I met you, John. And fortunately, you were tied with Mike Ferry, and I kind of knew who Mike Ferry was, but I didn't really understand it.
Yeah.
And then you really set my foundation right there with Mike Ferry and everything that you coached. And then 2004 or 2005, I just went full-time real estate. So did it for a few years, part-time kind of.
So tell me a little bit about that. What caused you to go full-time? I mean, you were going to BYU, right?
Yes.
What caused you to go full-time? And once you made the decision, did you get any grief or any heat from anybody on that?
Not really. I mean, the only reason I was going, well, I mean, honestly, like looking back, I'm kind of like, it would be nice to say I graduated, but it really wouldn't have helped me anyway.
Yeah.
Like for me, I loved school, but I knew that I wanted to do this. And so I felt like I was wasting time, and so I just went for it.
Okay. So you got into real estate full-time. Tell me, what was your experience your first year in real estate full-time?
I think I did like, I don't know, 25 deals maybe, somewhere around there in 2005. Made like 100 and something thousand.
Okay, good.
And yeah, I'll pull up my numbers while we're talking, but yeah, it was 25 deals right away, which was good for me back then. I was pretty stoked.
That's good for anybody their first year. So let me get this straight. You're able to pull up your numbers from your very first year.
Yeah.
Any year. Why do you do that?
Why? For me, it's the only way to know where I'm at, where I've been, and how to get to where I want to go, really. It's all a numbers game, and if you don't know what you need to do or what to work on, just look at your numbers and I could tell you. If you could show me anyone in here, I could show me your numbers, exactly all your numbers, I could tell you what you need to do.
You mean based on their contacts and their appointments and that kind of thing, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. If they told me, hey, this is my goal, and I say, okay, show me your numbers for this last year, I could see if you didn't hit your goal, why you did it. It's so easy.
It's so easy. Okay, well, you've been doing it for a lot of years. It's pretty easy to you now, right?
Yeah.
So you've always been. I remember when we were coaching together. You've always been great at tracking your numbers. What was there something in your past that caused you to know to track your numbers, or did it make sense? What was it that did it? Because not very few agents really track numbers.
That's a great question. No, I never thought about that. Why? Because I'm not analytical. I don't really like numbers as much. I'm more amiable. It just made sense. Like I mean, every business that you look at tracks their numbers. Every professional, every athlete, like everyone does it. If you're not tracking numbers, you're not professional. It's just obvious.
Okay, so you just made sense to you. You know,
Yeah.
everybody you knew that made a lot of money track numbers, so you decided to do it. So tell me a little bit, Bryan, then this year. So your goal this year and your income this year, what will that be for you this year?
I set my goal at 200 transactions. That would be 1.6 million.
Okay.
gross commissions after I pay the broker and everything. Right now I'm tracking a little behind. I'm tracking pretty close on income, but I'm behind quite a bit on closings, like 25% behind.
What's causing that?
I think I was on track all the way up until about 45 days ago. And then so COVID set me back a little bit.
Okay, so was your April like the rest of the MLS and the rest of the country? April, your numbers dipped?
Yeah, like closings, I was good all the way through March. April, I was on track. Then the funnel kind of died down. New pendings in April was low.
Okay. And so how's your business looking right now? Is it picking back up or is it staying low? How are you doing right now?
So in April, I took 8 listings, which is, so for my pace, I need to be at like 15, 16. But May is starting up. It's picking up for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure that you watch the multiple listing statistics as well as your own. Is that right?
Yeah, we had, I think, like on average, we'll sell on our MLS down here like 60 homes a week, typically 60 to 70. And then last week we had like 110. So it's taken off.
Okay. So it's going back good then.
Yeah. And maybe it's just pent up demand, maybe it'll even out. We'll see.
We just got off a call with Mike Ferry, and I have a lot of brokers that I'm in a mastermind group with. You know a lot of them. And everybody has commented on how April took a huge dip in listings taken. And everybody's seeing the market return back in May. And so, it sounds like you just tracked what everybody else around the country was seeing, and everybody is relating it to the COVID-19 thing.
Yeah, it was a really weird month for sure. But I'll tell you, I prospected more in April than ever before.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
So Bryan, tell me how many people do you have on your staff right now?
I have 2 assistants. I have a transaction coordinator and I have a listing coordinator. And then I have a part-time runner guy that'll like do signs and lock boxes and get food or whatever we need.
Okay, good.
Now
So,
I had 3. I let one go right before COVID. And she was okay, and I've been wanting to get rid of her anyway, like let her go anyway, and this was just a good reason to do so.
nice way to say it, let her go.
As an amiable, it's hard to fire people, but
yeah. So how do your transactions break down, Bryan? Of the 200 that you'll do, how do you see that breaking down? For subbinders, expireds, database, past customers, past clients, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so last year I was like 40% database. So I was mostly database. That's past clients, center of influence, and then people like that I've added to my database through prospecting. And then I do probably 15% expireds, maybe another 15% FSBO, and then the rest, 15% just listed, just sold, and absentee owners.
And so how do your calls that you make per day break down in relationship to those numbers?
So right now I'm doing like 60 a day right now, 60, 70 actually. So I'm higher.
Those are contacts, Bryan?
Yeah, those are contacts. So typically like on a normal, if it was January, February, March, I was doing like 50 a day. And I'll hit about, I would say, the first thing I call are the new expireds, and we'll usually have 2 or 3 of those a day. And then I'll hit the new for sale by owners, maybe a couple a day. And then from there, I'll hit the recent expireds and FSBOs from the last week or so. And then I'll hit database, which I'll probably do like 10 to 20 of those a day. And then I'll hit just listed, just sold, which would be about 10 to 20. Absentees, 10.
Okay, so you're going to hit this month somewhere between 60 to 70 a day, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And approximately, do you know, Bryan, the number? Do you know approximately how many contacts you make to an appointment?
Yeah, I can tell you right now. I think, let's see, contacts per listing taken last year was 72, and contacts per a listing appointment was 58.
Was 58 contacts to an appointment. So what is your conversion rate, Bryan, then attended to taken?
81.
Wow, that's a good number. So tell me, what did you do to get your that ratio 81? I mean, you go on 10, you get 8.1 out of 10 every time you go. What did you do to get to that level? I know that's world class. That's a high percentage.
Yeah, so back in 2000, I don't know why my 2005 numbers aren't showing up, but Mike Ferry's going back 10 years. So back in 2010, I was at 61%. And probably in 05, I was probably at like 25%, I would guess.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just practice. And then the more database you do, that number automatically goes up. So like on FSBOs, I'm probably maybe 50%, I would guess. Then COI, I'm like 100.
So you're going to do 200 deals a year, and you're still practicing?
Yeah. Right now, like yesterday, I practiced twice. I did a role play in the morning, and then I had a role play in the afternoon.
So how specific is your practice, Bryan? Do you have something you're specifically practicing that you're working on to get better, or is it just going through the scripts?
No, this morning I practiced for sell by owners. It's like what I feel like what I'm gonna call that morning, I try and practice, and then what I need to work on. And then in the afternoons, it's always listing presentation. So today I didn't have a partner, so I just wrote out the whole script
Of the listing presentation.
Yeah.
So I got to get this straight. You've been in the business for 20 years, and today, because you didn't have a practice partner, you just went ahead and wrote out the listing presentation.
I did. Yep. It's kind of funny. Mike Ferry told us to do it for 30 days. I've done that. 30 days or write it all out.
Yeah.
And it's surprising at how more ingrained it becomes.
What changes when you write it out for 30? So you say every day you wrote out the listing presentation, the whole presentation every day for 30 days?
Yeah.
And tell me what is it you notice the most difference from doing something like, 'cause that's pretty boring, right?
It's very boring. It's just like that's our main thing we do to make money as a listing presentation. And it's just every day. Like if you don't go to a listing presentation every day, you should be at least either saying it or writing it out, because that's your main tool. It's just keeping it sharp, really. And when you go on the appointments, one of your guys he came down to listen to me the other day. He's like, "Hey, you're kind of off script." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I have it all memorized, but if you'll notice that when I am off script, I'm asking questions. Like I'm asking additional questions. And so if you've got it ingrained and you feel like you need to ask something additional, that's okay."
On Mike Ferry's call the other day, he gave a perfect example of that. He ran through like a few questions in the prequel script, then he asked a couple extra questions that were off script, and then got right back on. So that's exactly what Mike taught us just a couple days ago too, Bryan.
Oh yeah, you can't get on and get off if you don't know the script though. It's like you'll get messed up.
So you're still working on the script really hard, it sounds like. Let me ask, Bryan, if you feel like you're 50% of the time you're getting an appointment or you're getting a listing on a for sale by owner, can you identify, is there one thing or two things that you'd say you could identify what's causing you not to get them? I'm assuming the appointment's qualified. So is there something that's causing you not to get them?
Yeah, just I'm amiable, so just closing them hard enough. I've been avoiding them because there's agents that you know if you deal with it. It's just there's a guy down here. His name's Ryan Kramer. He's a hardcore prospector, but and he lists most of for sale by owners, and he does it for 1%. They can still be by owner, canceling. It's just everything high price. He's Mike Ferry trained guy. He's really good. So I just haven't pushed it as hard lately. But I've said this to myself. I was like, you know what? Everyone he works with, people are not happy. So like, I'm doing a disservice by not presenting a better presentation. So if I don't get it, I'm just not qualifying them good enough. And I would say it's more of like a preview instead of a set like appointment.
Okay. All right. So how do your numbers compare to his as far as, taken to sold, asking price to sell price, days on market, all that kind of stuff?
His numbers are actually pretty good. He does have more expireds for sure, but his list to sales price is probably 90%, so it's not great. So I try and use all those numbers for sure.
Yeah. And so his numbers versus the multiple listing versus your numbers versus the multiple. I mean, your numbers have got to be better.
They're better.
Yeah.
They're better, and my past clients they're a lot happier. I have a lot better reviews.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he's I mean, he'll probably do like 250, 300 transactions.
So he's kind of like down there, like a homie is up here. Do you have a homie down there?
He's a super aggressive homie.
Is
Yeah,
he?
we've got homie. I mean, it's the same stuff you always hear.
Right.
It's the same stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly still trying to work on, okay, how do I get better at that? How do I improve my skills?
So you're working on that. You're obviously practicing with other agents that are good. Do you ever do anything to record or critique yourself on any of the things that you're doing?
I should. No, I haven't recorded lately. Always a good idea.
Yeah. Well, okay, good. That's good to hear. It's kind of interesting that you're writing out the scripts as much as you are. I think maybe listening to yourself back, you might find a couple things maybe that would help you a little bit with some things. I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Um, so tell us a little bit about your daily schedule, Bryan. How does that work out? Tell us about that.
Okay, I wake up at 4:30 and I have a trainer I meet with at 5 at the gym. So on the way there, I like to listen to something good, positive, go to the gym, listen to something good on the way back. I have a meditation session that I do. Then I have a spiritual reading scriptures session that I do. Get ready, then I get role playing at 7:30, on the phones at 8.
Can you tell me a little bit about your meditation?
Yeah, I've been doing meditation every day pretty consistently for 3 years now. And basically what for me meditation is, it's a time to clear your mind. If you've ever just tried to meditate or just not think of anything, you'll be surprised at how your mind will wander on the most random things constantly. And so I've been fascinated about how can I control my mind and what I think. And so through meditation is a way that you learn to control that. But more than that, meditation is a time where you visualize what you want in your life, your future. Instead of most people wake up every day and they're living in their past. All the decisions they make, the feelings they have are rooted in things that have happened to them in the past. And so you're basically stuck in the past. You're going to do the same thing every time. In the future, if you visualize your future, you visualize what it feel like to be there, to have that thing or to be that person. Your body doesn't know reality. If your brain's thinking it, your body thinks it's real. And so then what's interesting is as you visualize that, you'll start to act and be the person that you're trying to be, that you want to be, and then you'll start producing. So like your thoughts lead to emotions, your emotions lead to actions, and then your actions will lead to your results. So when I was with you, John, we talked about mindset constantly and what we were putting in mind, but just till recently, I really have started to understand that how critical that really is. It's everything.
It is everything. Yeah, it is everything. Well, let me ask, Bryan, back on your schedule a little bit. So you arrive at the office at what time? You go home at what time?
7:30, I'm at the office, or sometimes I'm role playing in my car because I couldn't get out of the house quick enough. But I'm definitely at the office by 7:50. And then like Monday, I got home last night like 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Tonight, like my last appointment's at 4, but I'll probably prospect, like just because I'm behind, I'll probably prospect till 7 tonight and tomorrow.
You are, Bryan, when you go to the Mike Ferry events, you told me that you do some prospecting sometimes. Is that right?
Did I what?
That you do some prospecting sometimes when you're at the Mike Ferry events.
Yeah, I do. I always try to like show up early and get my calls in.
So how do you do so much business, getting to the office at say 7:30, going home at 6 every night. How do you do? I mean, those are really, really reasonable hours. How do you do so much business in that short of a time frame?
Well, when you're listing properties, you can leverage your time so much easier. You know, when you're working with buyers, it's great because it's a great way to make money, but you can only work with one person at a time. And so by focusing on listings, you can leverage what happens, and you can delegate to your staff so much easier. So what's crazy is if you get really good at your listing presentation and you prospect, you'll get a lot of listings. Then you can hire some staff to service those listings. If you price them right, they're all going to sell. And so like my staff like negotiates the offers. They basically do everything. And then my focus every morning is like I'm starting from zero. It's like I'm gonna fill the pipeline again every single day. It's really not that bad. There's some days like on a Thursday, I call all my listings and pendings. So I'll prospect 4 hours, and then I'll do 3 hours straight of updating pendings and listings, and then I'll have appointments. So I mean, it's hard,
Yeah.
and a lot of people couldn't handle it. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of chaos at times, but you get used to it. You'll get uncomfortable to a level, and then you'll get comfortable, and then you want to push yourself again. As soon as you're comfortable, you want to push to the next level.
So that's interesting that you're talking about the levels. You've been at 50, 100, and now 200. Tell me what you think the difference is between someone doing 50 and 100 and someone doing 100 and 200. How do you see that?
It's really simple. Number one is mindset, and number two is just like what you're doing with your time every day. So when I went from 50 to 100, it was all about, I just made a commitment. I was like, my coach is like, just set one listing appointment every single day. I mean, do not go home until you set a listing appointment. And I believed it. So yeah, I'll do that. So I wouldn't go home. I don't know if he was being serious or not, but I did that. And I just got used to setting an appointment every day. Honestly, like every single day, set a listing appointment.
So if you didn't set a listing appointment, you stayed later.
Yeah, I stayed till 8. I keep calling until you, and then sometimes I would set an appointment like I'm gonna keep calling because I don't want to be late tomorrow. So I'm gonna set something. I'm gonna get some leads for tomorrow. You know. So it's just time. Like, the question I ask agents who are doing under 50 is like, what else could you possibly do?
You mean what else are they doing with their time?
Yes, that's the difference.
So, well, you're talking to 60 to 70 people. You know the number of contacts you're making to an appointment. So you're not going home now without an appointment a day. Do you have some kind of a goal for appointments per day now? Or?
I'm trying to get to 2. So my whole goal lately is I'm trying to get to 20 listings a month. You know, I've hit 17, I've hit 18, but consistently 20 has been that's my next challenge. It's not been easy, but it's 2 appointments a day, basically 2 qualified appointments every day.
So they have to be qualified then.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't just set 2 appointments and say I've got 2 appointments. You have to go through the qualifying process, and if they're not qualified, you can get back on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to set a for sale by owner. Hey, let me come see your house appointment. I'm talking like real qualified. If what I say makes sense, are you planning to list with me? Yes. Or even if they said no and you go through it, but qualified, legit.
So you're thinking the only difference then between someone doing 50 and 200 is 1, their mindset, and 2, how they spend their time during the day.
That is it. And I would say if there's a third thing, being okay with confrontation. Once I had the mindset, like I think people purposely stay under 50 because at 50 deals, you make enough to pay your bills and have a decent lifestyle for sure. And it's like, after that point, you're going to be uncomfortable. There's gonna be a lot of people that you're dealing with, a lot of people upset, just a lot of drama. And once I got the mindset, I said, you know what? I'm giving better service to these people than anybody could give. I'm gonna be honest with everybody. Let the chips fall where they may. It's their best shot. So I'm just gonna go for it.
So just next, huh? No matter what.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, and then we'll figure out the systems later. We'll figure out the customer service, like how to make it better.
Tell me how, because you brought that up with your staff. So you go out, you take a listing, and then you hand it off to staff. How much do you get back involved in that?
Well, I always call them. Yeah, it's all systemized. We have a checklist of what they do, but I always call them. When I take a listing, I call them the first, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, always 3 times the first week, and let them know everything that I've done or my staff has done. Because like it's so much easier at the very beginning. If you give great service at the very beginning, it can make up for a lot of crap later on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll trust you. So that, and then every week I call them. I'll go over, you know, their feedback, their showings. So my staff on Thursdays, they'll give me all these folders, and I'll just go right down through it. And I can see, open the folder, I'll see, okay, what happened this week? Here's the feedback. And then do I need to get a price reduction? They'll have some comps in there. I'll just go next.
Having staff negotiate the contracts, how does that work?
Oh, it's been great. So we have a checklist when the offer comes in. Staff make sure everything's correct. There's nothing missing, no missing signatures. Check with the lender, check the pre-qualifying, just everything. And then we have a script where she'll call and say, "Hey, Brian, congratulations, Brian just got you a contract. He's in appointments. I can have him call you later, or I can go over the contract with you right now." And they always say, "Let's just go over it." And they know her because she's introduced herself and have talked to them. Then she'll go through it and hopefully negotiate it out. And then a lot of times, sometimes I'll have to call and just go over a couple things. But it's pretty simple.
Okay, well, I know you like things simple. I know that. So tell me, your assistant must be, she's evidently licensed, right?
Right.
And she's been with you how long?
7 years.
So that's a long time.
Yeah.
I think I met her at the Superstar retreat. Seemed like a really nice girl.
Yeah, she came last time.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask a question. How many deals would you like to be doing 5 years from now? Have you thought that far ahead? Or
Yeah, I have. I'm
Okay.
thinking 300.
Okay.
I'm wrapping my mind around 300, averaging 10,000 a commission. So 3 million is basically in my vision at the 5-year mark.
Okay, so what has to change for you to get to the 300? I mean, you're not going to call more people, right? So
Yeah.
what has to change?
I wrote that down this morning as I was thinking about it. I was like, okay, how can I add 5 to 10 more listings? And I wrote down all the sources, and I'm like, one, I can get better skills. I get my ratios better. You know, instead of being at 60 to an appointment, I could be at 40. Number 2, I wrote down build my database bigger and better, meaning bigger, more people, better, meaning better trained, better referrals. I wrote down maybe hire someone to help me prospect, set appointments for me.
We were talking to Juan. You know Juan Martinez in Vegas, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know Juan. Have you visited with him much?
Not really.
We had him on a week ago or so, and we asked him because I'm interested in the same thing you are. How do you get to these higher levels and still have life, right? And so he was talking about how when he was doing his thing, he was talking to 48 people an hour, and I'd never heard of that number before.
What?
Huh?
What? 48 an hour?
Don't fall down.
1 a minute?
Well, yeah. So he has a guy in front of him called a hammer. Have you ever heard of that before?
A hammer?
Hammer. So this guy calls in front, and the only people Juan gets on his list are people that are home,
Oh.
so no answers, and people that have some interest in talking about real estate. So, you know, Juan was very, of course, you know, he's been in the business a long time. He runs a company now down in Las Vegas, but he's doing, his best year was 585 deals. And so, you know, a good guy. That's why I thought you would probably be talking to you know, doing some planning yourself on how to get to 300. Because, you know, you're one of those people that always wants to do more, which is my next question. So how do you stay motivated? I mean, how do you not get into the complacency that everybody gets into of, hey, I'm good at 50 or I'm good at 100 or today I don't feel like it or, hey, I had a great month or whatever. How does that work for you? What makes you want to go to 300? You're already making $1.6 million. I mean, what's the deal there?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing is one, not to get down. Number two, not to get too excited. Like for me, what's helped me is the friends that I hang out with down here. I have a few friends that make way more money than that, way more. And so I'm always feeling pretty poor actually when I'm with them. I'm like just being with them, and I'm just like, man, I can do a lot more than this, you know? So that's the biggest thing is who you're hanging out with. And then number two, just I'm constantly visualizing what would be better about my life. Like what do I want? And then I'm always looking at my business plan. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, it does. Because people get stuck at 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever number, and that's where they stay. There's a lot of really great Mike Berry agents that are stuck at 100 or 75 or whatever, right? They stay in coaching. They've been in coaching for 20, 25 years, and they're still 75 or 100 deals, and they don't change anything. What's different for you in your life at 300 deals instead of at 200? What changes for you?
What's changing is definitely the vacations you take are better. The investment properties that you can purchase are way better. I mean, honestly, at 1.5 million, if I keep making that for the next 10 years, I would be totally fine, right?
Sure.
It's a good income. And some people, it's not all about the money. Some people are totally happy at 100 deals. If I can maintain 100 and live my lifestyle, great. But at 1.5 to 3 million, it's a totally different lifestyle that you could have. And the investment, like if you were to compound saving $2 million a year versus $1 million a year, compound that over 10 years, it's astronomical.
Yeah, it's different, big difference. Those are numbers that most people don't even consider. I had an agent in my office this morning, and we were talking about 400,000 and how that you can buy a decent house and a decent car, but after that, that's about it. He has another job, and he says I can't even dream about making 400,000. I said, well, until you can visualize, it's probably not going to happen. So, he's actually a paramedic and wanting to get into real estate. So I don't know if that'll work or not for him. But they're feeling like 40, 45, or 50 or 60. You come from that mindset, man. You're talking about $1.5 million, $2 million, or let's even somebody making 500,000. And agents that we've had here make 500,000, and then they stop working. That's just what happens. So. I guess the question I have is there anything you would say that you could say this is what keeps my mindset so strong, or this is how I fight becoming discouraged or complacency? Because evidently complacency is not a problem for you.
It is a problem, definitely. I have to fight that sucker every day. That's like the biggest battle every single day is complacency. Like,
Tell me more about that.
Like I was kind of excited for COVID, so I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna just take it easy. And then of course my coach is like, okay, we've got to go to 7 hours prospecting. He's like, the key to this market is to take more listings. And I was like, you say that when the market's hot. So it's always the same answer. Right?
Yeah. What's funny is you're listening to your coach. I mean, we ask people why they can't get out of bed and push a button at 7 a.m. in the morning, and you got a coach telling you got to prospect 7 hours a day. So
yes, totally sucked. But for him, he's like, Bryan, you got to have a good vacation. So the thing that is, we did this year, and we kind of changed because of COVID. But like February, we had a Maui trip planned, and so it's like, okay, I'm gonna just crush it till then. Have 7 days in Maui or 10 days in Maui, and then set your next finish line. So if you have something that you're looking forward to or something you get to have, it's easier. Or if you're just the same old thing every single day, you're going to be tired and you're going to not keep doing it.
So I like that answer a lot. I believe that it's who you spend your time with. And I remember when you were here, we were talking about trying to get you into mastermind groups with people doing 100 deals or more a year, and you kept getting turned down.
Yes.
You remember any of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was always getting turned down.
Yeah. I bet you don't. I bet you're not turning you down now.
I'm telling you, like these people, these guys that are my age that are worth 500 million here.
Yeah.
I have a friend who made 23 million last year in commissions, trading oil. He just trades oil for a large oil company. He retired actually this year.
Yeah. Well.
And so, I mean, think about that, 23 million in a year.
Yeah.
I went to Mexico with them and just hanging out. I'm just like, what is wrong with me? Why did I get in real estate? I can't make any money here.
So what advice you have for people, Bryan? I'm talking constantly. I mean, I never stop talking about this, about the people you spend your time with, the people you spend your time with, the people you spend your time with. What advice would you give to agents getting into the business or that are in the business and want to do more as far as people they spend their time with? How did you do that?
You have to be so committed, and you have to become really good at what you do, and then I promise, like naturally, they will come to you. They'll be put in your life, but they're not going to want to hang out with someone who's not committed. You don't have to be like making a lot of money. They don't care, but they care about who you are. So if you're a person that's not committed and excelling, or at least trying to excel, you're different, then you're not going to. So you gotta kind of become that person already, and then it just happens.
You know, what's funny is I know from personal experience that your wife feels that way because she gave that advice to my daughter.
Oh, really?
No, she did. My daughter had gone through a divorce, and she says, "How do I find someone that's really good?" And you don't even, you might not even know this, but she says you have to become like the person that you want to attract. And I thought, what great advice! I don't even know if you know that story, but that was the advice she gave my daughter. And so my daughter said, "That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become like the person I want to attract." And that's what you're talking to these guys about. If you want to attract different people in your life, you got to act like those people. If they want to attract people like you, they got to get out of bed early. They got to go to work out in the morning. They got to read. They got to meditate. They've got to get on the phones. They've got to make the calls. They've got to do all those things because when you do all those things, then these people just show up in your life. I guess that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and then like I bought my new home, and that's basically how I met a lot of them, is just through my neighborhood, basically. Because like, you kind of upgrade where you are, like where you live, and it just naturally happens.
Naturally happens. That's great. So, Bryan, what advice would you give to someone who wants to do, let's just say, I want to break it down. Somebody that's just getting in the business right now today, give us 2 or 3 pieces maybe of advice you can give to someone just getting started today. Maybe they've been in the business a year or whatever. They haven't done much, but they want to. They're good workers. They've got a good work ethic. Because if you don't have that, you're dead. But what advice would you give them?
Well, I'd look at a few things. One, I just look at, your mindset. Like what are you doing for your mindset? What are you reading? Are you meditating or whatever you do spiritually? Like how do you get yourself in that mental state? Number 2, I talk about your skill development. And then 3, I would talk about your prospecting, like how much and who are you talking to? I think a lot of people get trapped just calling FSBOs and old expireds all day long. And where real money is in database and just listed, just solds. Because on just listed, just sold, you can pick which neighborhoods, you can pick where you want to be, and you can develop friendships with people and database that way. So I would look at those things. I would look at, if I was in a year in the business, I would at least be doing 4 or 5 hours a day prospecting. And you don't do it straight. You go 50 minutes, then you do a mindset break, 50 minutes, mindset break, stay fresh, and maybe take an afternoon walk or break and then come back in the evening. That's a great time. But do something that's really going to make you uncomfortable until you get used to it.
So did you, Bryan, you're talking about just listed, just sold. I know a lot of people get stuck with, like you say, the 4 sub-hunters expires. Then that's a grind it out, get beat up all day long deal.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, you said you get to pick what areas because you told me one time that you'd pick certain areas that you wanted to call in because of the area and the price ranges. Can you tell me a little bit more about
Yeah.
that?
So my average commission, my coach didn't even think I could do it, but I was like, I want to be 10,000 this next year. And he's like, well, you were at 8,000 last year, but this year so far, I'm like almost 11,000 per closing, and that's including my split with my buyer's agents who have closing. So my average listing commission is probably like 14,000 this year. And so I work top down. So I'll pick neighborhoods. I'll work my just solds at 7 to $1 million. If it's over $1 million, I'll just spend more time. I'll work them harder. And I don't do any just solds around 250 or under 300 for sure. Usually it's 400 plus.
Good.
It's the same time. Why not?
Yeah. That's so simple. That's a great attitude. So tell me a little bit, what advice would you give to someone that's at 30, 40, 50 deals, say 50, and they want to do 100 to 200 deals? What is the advice you give that person?
I would give them the same advice that my coach gave me. Commit to setting one appointment a day. And
Qualified.
if you don't have an assistant, you should get one at that point.
Okay. You're talking qualified appointment, though. Don't set one that you know is no good. I mean, the discipline there sounds like, Bryan, are you telling me is, I mean, I have to be honest about, is that a qualified appointment or not?
Yeah. You just got to be honest with yourself. I mean, it takes a lot of like personal accountability to do that.
Do you brought it up? I didn't write it down as a question. Do you have accountability with other people, or is it just internal?
I usually do. Last month I had some on a listing competition. I text one of my buddies every day how many contacts I make, how many appointments we set. I have another mastermind group that we text every time we set an appointment. And then I have a trainer, so I have to show up. So I have a lot of accountabilities in my life.
That's great. So I want to open it up here, Bryan. I appreciate you taking the time with us. I want to open it up and see if some of the people listening in would like to ask a question. So this time, if you have a question, please unmic and ask Bryan a question. Shelly, it says, I saw your hand up, Shelly. Go ahead.
Yeah. What I want to question, one of my questions is, what are some of the questions that are off script that are your go-tos to dig deeper and find out more motivation and to help them open up more to you?
And it depends on the situation, but it's always a why question, like why or how or what. Like, and for sell by owner, it's like, I don't think it's in the script, but why you have such a nice home? Why are you actually selling this property? I don't know if I have an exact question. It's just what feels like I really want to know would help me understand what they really need, I guess.
Okay. Good. So would you suggest, Bryan, that people write out some why or how or what or when questions?
That would be a great idea.
Okay.
And just be curious, be a curious person, like practice being curious.
Great. Thanks, Bryan. So other questions?
Yeah, can I ask one, John?
Cody. Go ahead, Cody.
So Bryan, one thing that I know when you were up here for lunch a couple of years ago, we talked about database and things that you were doing you mentioned train your database and help them become more skilled in giving you referrals, right?
Yes.
What are some of the things that you're doing to help train your database and get them to where they're, more skilled, I guess is the best way to put it, in giving you referrals? I mean, what are some of the things you're doing?
What are the things I am or I should be doing? Because my coach is always on me on this.
Or both.
But it's like, it starts from the very beginning when you list the property, the first week. Hey, who else do you know needs to? So he says, you always call them on their cell phone, ask them for a referral. Call them on their cell phone, ask them for the referral at the end of the conversation. So training them is just basically doing it every single time, every 2 to 3 months for the rest of their lives. And then they know what's coming. And when they do send you a referral, you have to be very grateful. Send them a thank you card, a gift certificate, praise them, whatever. Just like, I have some people that give me probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 referrals every year, just random
Wow.
people that I met.
Yeah.
How many, Brian, let me ask a question. I brought up a question as Cody said that. How many people do you have in your database?
I think I'm at 1,200 right now.
So 1,200 is producing approximately how many transactions for you then?
Well, if I did 100 and what did I do last year? 170, 60, 170? I don't even remember. I would say it was 40%. So whatever that number is.
45. So 45 deals from your COI. That's pretty
I did
good.
175 deals last year. So I don't know math. 80 deals maybe
You said 40%. Oh, you said 40%.
of
Okay.
175.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be about right. About 80. Yeah. Okay, good. Other questions for Brian?
I've got a question. So I'm fairly new at Mountainland, and I'm on day 12.
Nice.
Yeah. When you were just rattling off your stats, I like during the call, you immediately, like, I did my stat sheet with John, but I built an Excel spreadsheet. And just looking at that, I'm starting to see where I need to build skill. I took 2 COI listings. I still practice my script on those COIs, but the FISBO appointments, I suck. like, I get so pumped for that FISBO appointment, and when I get there, I'm practicing, and I just wonder, like when you started out, like how long did it take to kind of just cross that threshold? Because I'm starting to see what objections I'm getting only after 2 appointments. But I mean, outside of script practice and all that, like, what was your like aha moment? Like, this is that you've made.
I don't think I can tell you that. I mean, you only are 12 days, so you really don't have a sample size. But it does, like, it's just a skill, so it just takes time. Could be 3 months for you, could be 3 years. I don't know. Depends on how hard you work on your skills. But the more you go, the more you learn and the better you get.
So Brian, can you accelerate the skills? I mean, based on how much time you spend on them
Yeah, absolutely. Big time.
so an agent can either spend 3 years developing them, or they can develop them significantly in 6 months to a year if they really put the time in and commit to it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you just have to be a little bit better than like the other agents out there. And the skill level of 99% of the agents is really not that great. On for sale by owner, there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 agents you're going to be competing with all the time. So you just got to be better than them. Or you can outwork them. You can call the for sale by owners more. You can go to their house directly. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. When I was a brand new agent, I remember I wasn't as skilled, but I had enthusiasm, and I just kept calling them, and that helps too.
I can remember because you were across the hall from me making calls, and I'd hear you every now and then yell at yourself.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of that?
Oh yeah, I still do. Come on.
I can remember. I was like, God, I hope he doesn't hurt himself in there.
Just got to pump yourself up.
Yeah, I got to pump yourself. I remember you doing it, and I remember you screaming at yourself all the time, and that was great. Other questions for Brian? Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah. So, what have been the best methods you found to individually work on your skills?
The best methods, obviously role playing.
Mhm.
And so how my role plays go is it's usually about 15, 20 minutes. I call, they call, I go first, then they go. And then writing out the scripts has been huge for me. I really like writing it out every day, word by word. It ingrains it. And then I also like to practice on Zoom listing presentation, since maybe we're doing more virtual presentations. But honestly, the best practice is prospecting
Doing it.
and going on appointments.
Yeah,
That is the best practice. It is a practice. Like treat it like a practice.
So you know, Bryan, Mike announced today that he'd be giving us 30 ideas of becoming better at virtual presentations at the Superstar Retreat. So that'll be great.
Oh, that will be.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that. So thanks for that. Jill, go ahead. You had your, it was between
Yeah.
you and the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to kind of acknowledge, Bryan, thank you for doing this for us. And also, thank you. I've gone down and terrorized him twice. And he is impressive. I've seen his Thursdays. I've seen his stack of files. He is not exaggerating. He literally opens them up, looks at them, glances, and throws them on the floor. I mean, it's impressive. It is so impressive. It's ingrained. So thank you for that. My question to you, Bryan, is the scripts that you have for your assistants, being that a lot of our assistants are all new, is that something you're willing to share, or something that we can at least get a kind of a rough draft of to them?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have them all. We have checklists, and I think they have them all written out.
Okay,
I'm sure they would share
fantastic.
that. Yeah.
And then the next question is on your environment, bigger thinkers, moving up with these people. You just didn't all of a sudden go hang out with people who make $23 million. How did you have friends like that, your environment? How did you progress into that?
Mostly when I moved, honestly, like when I bought my new home. And then through prospecting and doing larger transactions, you kind of meet a lot more people that way as well.
It sounds like, Bryan, you've gone to with your gist list that just sold, you've purposely gone to a bigger sales price, and that's going to put you in touch with more of those people. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Jill, did you have a follow-up?
No, I was just curious into how much his house costs, because Jacqueline and I did see a house that I'd like to buy, but I don't even dare want to say the number because it'll be little peanuts compared to, I want to see what's your house, Bryan?
My house is probably 1.5 right now. It's not anything really special, but it's in a neighborhood where I'm probably mid-range.
Nice.
So a good neighborhood to be in.
Yeah. There's only other one, like there's some little bit nicer neighborhoods, but they're all retired people, there's no kids.
Yeah.
So for where I'm at in my life right now, it's a great spot.
Nice.
Great.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah. I've got a question. Hi, Bryan. But by the way, it's been a long time.
Hey, Travis.
Can you give me a breakdown of your COI system? Your database is 40% of your business. That's huge. And so that's not something that just happened naturally. There's steps you've taken to cultivate that. So, and what I'm looking for is do you send them email blasts? Do you call them?
Yes.
How often do you call them? Do you send them postcards? The content of your calls, when you call these people every 3 months, do you ever run out of things to say when you call them? So you talked to Bob 3 months ago and you're calling him again today. Sometimes I'm intimidated by that call because I don't know what to say.
That's a great question. It's all systematized. First off, it begins with building. So I started from scratch 2012, 0 people. And so the key is how are you have to have a plan. What is your plan to build your database? And so from me, obviously it started with your service providers, people that you do business with, but then I added people purposely through my prospecting efforts. And so, basically people that seem to know what's going on in the neighborhood, people that had plans to do something within a specific time frame, I added them. And I call them depending on what category they are, I call them every 30 days to every 90 days. And we mail them something every quarter, and I email them. I think we do an email every week or every 2 weeks. And it's just basically, hey, Bryan sold these homes this week. Thank you for your help, or here's a new listing. It's nothing fancy. I don't do like videos of myself or anything.
On your quarterly call, do you ever feel like you run out of things to say to the people? You talked to somebody 3 months ago, you're calling them today. What's the content of that call, or what value do you bring to that call to justify calling them, I guess?
Yeah.
Or am I overthinking this?
You probably are, being your Travis, more
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah.
But and maybe I can do better, but I don't really add a whole lot to the script.
Cool.
And and actually, Travis, it depends on their personality style.
Okay.
First of all, you got to realize that drivers are not going to give you any referrals for the most part. I mean, some every now and then will. And then your analyticals, they're not that great either, to be honest. I mean, they're good, but your amiables and your expresses are going to give you all of the referrals, and that's not 100% true. I have some drivers that send me stuff, so when you call a driver, it's obviously going to be short. If it's analytical, throw them some stats. So do you have let me ask you this: is your database categorized by personality style?
No, it is not.
See, that's one thing. I've categorized mine. I've categorized mine to A's, SOIAs, SOIBs, PCAs, and PCBs. And so at the beginning of each quarter, my assistant gives me this, and it tells me I have to call all these people to right here by this date. It's like, okay. So I just keep it with me, and I track it all in a CRM. I use Top Producer, and I'll just go down the list until I catch them all. And I add the buyers to the other side of the transaction. I add people that I talk to. I probably add 2 or 3, 4 or 5 a week, I would say, on average.
Bryan, let me ask a question. Tell me how you. I love the idea that you take the buyer on the other side if it's your listing and you add them to your COI. How does that go? Do you call them or you just put them in your list? Tell me how that goes.
I'll call them the next day after closing. Just say, hey, this is Bryan. I was the listing side. How was the house when you moved in? Did they get the lockbox off? Did they get the sign down? Does it look okay? What else do you need? And then I'll call them a week later. Say, hey, how's that? You've been in the house a week. Any questions from the previous owner? Did you get my email I sent to you? And then it's every 90 days for the rest of my career.
That sounds, here's the thing, Bryan, is you're the only agent calling them after the sale. So that's good for you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, every now and then I'll get some negative feedback from the other agent.
Yeah.
And if it's a good agent that I do a lot of deals with, then honestly, I don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. We have time for probably maybe one more real quick question. Anybody else have a question for Bryan?
I have one.
Okay, good, Trent.
Bryan, as the business development / recruiter for John, I have a question to ask. I want to ask a little bit more about the environment that you're in. Since you left, any agent that leaves the environment that we have here has a tendency to sputter. You did not.
Yeah.
What?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about the kind of support that you're getting there at Century 21 Everest that is helping you, or what is your broker doing to help you that you like versus what you miss from when you were here working with John?
Yeah. Well, the St. George office is a little bit different, I think. There's really not much going on down here. But when I was a brand new agent, without John, I would not be here today, honestly. So for that first 10 years, I definitely almost went out of business probably 4 or 5 times. I could tell you 4 or 5 times where I was like on the brink of being done. And so if you don't have someone, I would tell you right now, if I don't have a coach right now, I would not be doing what I'm doing 100%. So I have a coach, and I've had to pay for my own kind of environment outside of the brokers. But what I love about my brokers is they support me. They want me to they support, my goals, and they'll provide anything I need.
Very good. Okay, Bryan, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody get off, take off mute, everybody, and let's just tell Bryan, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you, Bryan.
Great
you,
Bryan.
Bryan.
Thanks, Bryan.
Very inspirational.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you very much,
Andy.
Bryan. Okay, we'll
Bye-bye.
talk to you later, man.
Thank you, Bryan.
Bye-bye.
See ya.